your host, Vince. And now, we're on the air.
Hello, VI people. How's life treating you? That's sort of a mute question because I know you're not going to be able to answer me. Well, maybe in a comment, but maybe you can answer how you were at that point after I asked 2 days ago. I'm doing anyway fine. I'm here sitting in my underpants, which is very important information. But that's the beauty of having a studio inside of your own apartment. Not a lot going on with me. I just had a lot of gigs last week, but luckily next week is going to be a lot easier. I'm just going to go do one show on Friday, and that's going to be a birthday party in... I can't remember the name of the bar. It is what it is. I'll maybe talk about it on Monday more. But yeah, I just wanted to quickly say... last night was pretty hectic. I had 4 sets of shows in 2 different venues, and maybe you can hear it in my voice. That can take a toll on one. But it's fun. It's my job to do it, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So yeah, all the gigs that I possibly can do, I'm always gonna do them, even if sometimes you have to take a quick car, get to the other side of town, and you only have 5 minutes to get on stage. Well, I'll do it. No biggie. This time we're gonna do something that we haven't done before, but hopefully I'm gonna get a chance to do it again with somebody. And what's gonna happen here is Jaan Wessman came to the Disaster Studio, and we were talking about an album that recently came out, and that is the Van Halen A Different Kind of Truth, which came in February. And we do have a tendency of liking these older stuff, of course, because everybody loves what they first fell in love to as they were kids. So yeah, Van Halen is one of those bands. We're gonna do the Aerosmith album when it comes out in a couple of months, and I'm just sort of worried that I'm becoming one of those, old guys that doesn't appreciate new music. Well, it's not that I'm becoming one of them. I've been for quite a long time, but I wouldn't mind giving some newer band a chance. So if there's some new good music, some good records you think I should check out, and maybe do a review like this on, then yeah, you can leave a comment, and yeah, I'll have a listen to it. Sure, why not? But for now, let's talk Van Halen. Here we are. It's Friday. Well, it's not Friday night, but it's I don't know, midday. Strange time for musicians to be up and about. But I'm here with Jaan Wessman. Hi, how are you doing?
Yes, I'm doing very well. I'm having a very good time, and I actually just got up about an hour ago, as did you.
As did I. Yeah, I called you, and it was like, yeah, don't worry, I woke up 1 minute ago.
Exactly. So no rock and roll hours here. No.
Well, they're gonna be later because weekend is only starting. Anyway, we're here to do something a little bit different, something we've been talking about for a while now, and we're gonna sort of do a review, sort of just talk about the new Van Halen album.
Exactly, called A Different Kind of Truth, which came out on, was it the 6th or 7th of February, I think.
I think it was the 7th, but who's counting?
Yeah, not me.
Yeah, and first of all, let's go with the easy question. Did you like it, or did you hate it, or what? What was your initial reaction?
To say that I like it would be really the understatement of the year. I absolutely love it. I think it's a great return to fold. And I mean, thinking that this is the first record they made after Van Halen 3, the record with Gary Cherone, which wasn't entirely a bad record, but it still wasn't quite what people were expecting. So
It's not that great. It's okay.
it's okay. Yeah. Well, you said it, not me. But yeah, I think when the single "Tattoo" came out, I was pretty much like everybody else was. Like I think everybody was like, okay, it's cool. Dave's back. They've recorded some songs and everything, and this is sounding good and okay, but not really, that good. Not excellent. But then when the internet preview started rolling in, that's when I realized that okay, this is going to be something massive.
Yeah, yeah, and like what I've been listening to this album, this sort of Tattoo is sort of like I wouldn't call it the weakest song, but it's sort of most like the song maybe they would have done with Sammy.
Yeah, yeah, and it sounds like the mandatory single cut for an album, and they've always seemed to have done that. Thinking even as far back as 1984. If you think about the whole record, and then you think about Jump, just how outside of that whole other concept of the album that is, it's staggering. And not to say that Jump is a bad song, but it's still far from being the best song on the album.
Yeah, and if you listen to Jump and you're like, okay, I'm gonna want a bunch of these songs on a record, and then you go and no, this is not exactly what I bargained for.
Exactly.
But I think the good thing about Van Halen fans is we've come to be accustomed to that. That okay, the singles are for the reason that singles are made. They're to promote stuff and make tours a big deal and stuff like that. But when you actually go and get the album, that's when you get to the good stuff.
Exactly. Then that's always been the case with Van Halen.
And that's not really a thing that everybody does right now. Well, not always, but especially right now, it's not really like more. It's like that the singles are the big guns, and then album can be really fillers.
Nobody really does albums, if you ask me. I mean, well, sure, people put out these 80-minute discs or
MP3, files.
Yeah, and so like I think an album concept is becoming a lost art, really. So, but this one really nails it.
Yeah, one thing that I've noticed with this album was every time I listen to it and I have this, okay, there's 13 songs and I'm maybe at about 8, I'm like, okay, this is probably going to start, being really heavy at some point. But it never does, which is weird because we are sort of programmed for these, maybe 40-minute album or like, you can't process anymore, people are stupid. And like then I was like, no, but the pacing of the album is so good.
It is, yeah, and to think that this is the longest album they've done with Dave, because all the 6 first albums were almost like 30 minutes long only, and this is 50 minutes or something like that. So,
which is still not that long.
No, it's not. I think this is probably the ideal length, if you ask me, for an album, because I don't think like after listening to an album for 1 hour you can take in too much anymore. So, or at least, well, in most cases, some artists and bands are capable of doing longer albums than that, but they should be vinyls. You should switch sides and
yeah. Well, but we're so far from that already. So bring back 8-track.
Don't do that.
I bet there is somebody out there who is still believing it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I'm sure there are.
All right, so you have any? What's your favorite track? At least at the moment, I know those can change every day, but you gotta have. I know I do have one song that is above anything.
Well, I like As Is because I think it's a classic Van Halen boogie tune, and I think Alex particularly is on fire on that track. Well, they all are, but I think it has that nice boogie romp to it that I love, and it's got a great. I think the lyrics are great. I think Dave is as a whole on the whole album. he's coming up with some crazy good stuff.
Yeah, we should definitely talk in a minute about some lyrics, and we actually have the cover leaf here, and I believe there's the lyrics here, so we can just glance through for maybe go through a couple of really good ones. But let's do that in a minute. But my favorite is "Stay Frosty."
Oh yeah.
Which that's exactly what I was talking about, the pacing of the album, because it's sort of like that. That's one of the reasons why I'm still like, man, I gotta listen to the whole album because I know it's coming, and I don't want to jump straight to it because I know, I said, when is it coming? And just the idea, they've done this before with a few songs. This go from acoustic boogie stuff, and then just all out roar.
Yeah, take your whiskey home and stuff like that from the past days.
Ice Cream Man and stuff like that. And this is actually, Stay Frosty, Ice Cream Man. There's probably some kind of connection there.
I didn't think of that. Yeah, that's an.
I actually read that online. Somebody was just speculating. So, but I'm gonna buy that, for 50 cents.
I'll buy that too.
And yeah, I just love, and that's also, it's got some really really fun lyrics, and for me that's one of those songs that is really polarizing for people who don't get it will just never get it. How great of a song, and those of us who sort of are, love that kind of stuff, it's just like the greatest song there is.
Yeah, and speaking about the pacing of the album, because it's the third last song on the album, and it really nicely picks up the pace again. It makes you feel like, okay, we're heading for that one final big push, and.
Yeah. And especially because it starts with the acoustic. It's okay, this is a small doodle for the end. Yeah. If you haven't looked at how many songs are left, you're like, okay, this is probably the last song. And then, it kicks you in the head and, rolls over you.
Use my hand, I won't look.
Yeah, hey, let's talk about a couple of these really great lines in here. My favorite is actually in the Stay Frosty, which is it's about the Buddha who said, if you want to be a Buddha, you gotta cook a lot of rice, which is just like the weirdest and greatest line. But there's a lot of that stuff. Well, like, what's some favorites?
Well, because it's my favorite song, As Is contains what I think is really quintessential David Lee Roth-ism, and the opening line for that song goes, "Yesterday I was a bum and broke. Today I am a star and broke. In this town, that's called progress. That's how we do biz."
And it continues with some. I've been rich and I've been poor. Rich is better. Totally better.
Totally better.
That's like other bands. That doesn't rhyme. But with Dave, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter, and it's just that's classic Van Halen to me.
Yeah. And really, there is something about Dave. I believe Dave doesn't do all the lyric stuff.
Totally.
Yeah. And something about him and just a couple of other guys. There's not too many who have this kind of a very whimsy way of writing, and it's fun, and they sort of don't take themselves very seriously, which is a thing that right now I feel that lyrics is a very serious thing at the moment, and then to have like this kind of old school way of just playing with words and sort of making fun of yourself, and it's just fun.
Steven Tyler comes to mind.
He's got a couple of good ones also, but I think we're going to talk about that when their album comes out. So let's see what kind of lyrics he usually comes up with them really late. So I don't know. Do you know any kind of history about how Dave writes lyrics?
No, I don't really. I think usually what I've heard or have read, what happens is Ed comes up with the music first, and then Dave takes it home and starts waxing poetic and.
I've heard a rumor, probably from the earlier days, that he didn't always have everything ready, and he just wing it in the recording studio.
Yes, and there are some, like, if you take a song like "Everybody Wants Some," there's a couple of lines that don't really, they're not even words. They just sound like that sounds good. That it's more like being a horn of some kind, and I think it was Ted Templeman, the producer, who said, like, never mind about the lyrics, just make it sound good,
Just gibberish, Yeah, why not? And maybe they're words to Dave. Who knows?
Yeah, and also because, as most people probably know, about half of the new album is old stuff that they've already recorded back in their days when they didn't even have a recording contract, and those demos are still around in the internet if somebody wants to go and search for them and download them. She's the Woman, for instance, and Out of Space. They weren't called by these names, all of them by the very least, but still, and you can hear there are certain phrases. Getting back to the topic of lyrics, there are certain phrases that seem to sort of. I think Dave has this sort of a collection of, like little things that he can just add in anywhere, and they just and he can much like a rapper would have that sort of the ammo. Like when you need to start freestyling, you have something to fall back on. And so I think Dave has a few of those too.
That's a really brilliant idea that you don't really have to write whole lyrics, but you can have these like two.
One-liners.
Yeah, one exactly, because he's got a shitload of. He's like the Arnold Schwarzenegger of music.
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
He's like Mr. Freeze.
yeah.
God, I hate that film. It almost killed the superhero franchises.
Don't remind me.
Bad credit card. That's all I gotta say. Are you serious? Bad credit card. Oh yeah, that's probably another show, and I'm pretty sure the internet's full of stories about Batman and Robin. But talking about these old demos, do you feel it's a positive or negative thing that they sort of didn't write all new stuff and then that they went back to the old? Because I've heard a lot of people are, no, they got nothing new left. But what's your take on that?
Well, it's been years since I read this interview, so it's years since Edwards stated this in an interview, but he said very clearly that he's got at least like 5 or 6 albums full of worth of material that would qualify as full albums, and I don't really see a problem, because I mean, even with some of these songs on the new album, you can find them on the internet if you search hard enough and you know where to look for them. They're still new to a lot of people, so I don't really think that there's anything bad about them going back to the archives and finding stuff. And I don't think they would have sounded like this if they wouldn't have gone back to those really early songs that they did. And even then, I think Dave probably rewrote a lot of the lyrics. I see no problem with that. And as brilliant as I think this new album is, I think the real deal would be if they are going to be able to maintain a personal balance between each other and come up with another album after this. So it's going to be interesting to see whether they're going to be writing more new material, or if they're going to be searching for, or digging back to the vaults. So, but I see no problem with that. I guess some people do, and some people say that Eddie's run out of inspiration and stuff. But still, it's like what I read somewhere was that it's like half and half of new material and old material. So
I think maybe 7 songs were old and
6 were new. So I think that ratio is I think that's pretty healthy,
There you have it, but only half of it. Because we will be back with part 2 in, well, I hope to have it up later tonight. So you should have it for your evening listening pleasures, as they would say. And definitely we're gonna do some written stuff also that hopefully will come out on Sunday. Not much to say here, but jump on to part 2 as soon as it comes out and listen to all the other stuff. There's some great interviews back there with Graham Bonnet and Piritta Lumos and Theon from Lovex and all the great guys and girls. One girl so far. And yeah, like it, share it, comment on it, and that's about it. See you in part 2.